Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Can You Believe It's October GGDA meeting. It's been very interesting doing these meetings virtually instead of in person. I'm already getting complaints about people for the lack of pizza at this meeting, so maybe at the next one of these we'll get Puzzles by Joe to just cater pizza to everybody's house. So, very excited for tonight's online meeting and very excited for Siege coming up. Tonight, you see Paul Hessling on screen with me right now, who's joining us from the Netherlands. And yes, you who are doing the time calculations right now, you are correct. It is 1 in the morning his time. He is a true game dev. Up and ready to work like mad right now. So we definitely appreciate him joining us. I'm going to let him introduce himself more. I really have appreciated the discussions we've already had about Discord, and I think you're all going to benefit from this. But we've got a bunch of other exciting announcements coming up. First of all, yes, Nick Lang is returning to Siege this year. So joining Will Wright, Lisa Hoffman-John, and the others, we have Nick Lang, who will be our first 3-time keynote in Siege's, wow, what year are we? Oh, yeah, 15-year history. So, 14-year history. There we go, 14-year history. So, very much looking forward to his return. No, he's no longer at the Amazon Game Studio. He launched New World, and now he's off to bigger and better pastures. So we'll let him talk more about that. In addition, if your game studio, esports team, digital entertainment empire or such is looking for investment money, remember that we have the Siege Investment Conference. It'll be our 10th annual. Great lineup. The number of investors who are coming out for it, because it's online. Lots of folks I could never get to come out in person. So really good lineup of investors. Last year we had, in addition to our numerous angel investors, we had a couple of venture capital funds. This year we'll have even more VC funds. So be ready with your looks. That's all up on siegecon.net. Another upcoming event, we have the Georgia Esports League Championship over Halloween weekend being put on in conjunction with Pantherland at Georgia State University. Last year we had about a dozen colleges taking part. It's a 2-day event. If you are involved at any college with an esports team, JP, I know you're listening, you can sign up for this, and I will go ahead and put that information in chat in a little bit. I've got to make sure we've got the links to it on our website, but just to make sure folks listening have access to that, I'll put up, yes, we'll have something like $4,000 in prizes that any of the schools can win, so feel free to get in on that. We have a new GGDA member. Premier Esports has joined. We're seeing more and more esports groups joining us these days. Premier is happy to join the Georgia Game Developer Association family today, ready and eager for the opportunity to meet, network, and collaborate with other members to help further the development of the industry in our home state. Premier is a multi-platform entertainment and esports company based in Georgia, established this year, built around the hashtag the home team, a 3-tier system. Premier Rising, Premier Academy, and Premier GG. Allows even the most casual viewer, creator, or player to get involved and grow with them in esports and the training industry. The idea is to build a bigger community of esports fans, talented creators, and players and creators. So if you're interested in being a creator around esports, we'll have information about Premier Esports up on ggda.org tomorrow, since we just got the information from them tonight. All right. And most important, remember that Puzzles by Joe is about to launch Clutter Extreme X Stream on Steam. So if you have not already wishlisted it, jump onto the website, wishlist it. We're going to see if we can get Clutter a lot of first place rankings on Steam when it actually launches. All right. So I would love the idea of the talk we're having tonight, having this through Discord. Yes, our presenter is joining us on Discord to talk about Discord. I'm feeling so meta right now. So many of you are already using Discord, and those of you who aren't are planning on using it, with the possible exception of Joe when he orders you pizza. But for everybody else, Discord's become a major part of your life. So the question is, are you using it to best effect? And I know we're not with the GGDA channel, because I've already had a session with Paul where I got to look over a lot of things we can do better. And I think this is incredible advice, not just for people who set up the Discord channel, which is kind of what it's focused on, but for those of you who are just getting into setting up your Discord channel. Listen to this advice. A lot of great things to put into effect. And if you already have a channel active, he's going to give you a number of ways to improve it. So with that, Paul, I will turn it over to you, and everyone else, feel free to put your questions wherever you like, and we'll pass them on.
Yes, hello, my name is Paul Hessling, and I'm going to give a presentation about how to get the most out of your Discord community. In this sense, it's mostly for people who already kind of know how Discord works. I'm not here to tell you why to use Discord, as there's a lot of presentation about that cover that with some good metrics and other numbers that show you how important Discord has become over the past few years. But yeah, this will mostly focus on making sure that you take full advantage of the features that Discord offers. Now, a bit about myself, in the sense that from my experience and my journey that led me to this point, I've just seen a lot of other communities that had, well, they were doing things right, but they were also doing things not right, and I'm not saying that to blame them for not doing it right, but it existed simply because Discord has been changing so fast, and the whole community switch to Discord has become so fast that it's hard to keep track of all the changes and how to implement it to its full potential. And let me actually put some screen sharing on, because that might be helpful. In that sense, there would be one. Now, I've been supporting some servers for a while, pretty much around 2015, 2016, just generally because I love communities and I love video games, and I just love bringing that together, helping each other, making sure that people get their questions answered and they find the support that they need. In the end, I realized that trying to help all these indie devs with setting up their server and making sure that everything's right, that I don't really have a lot of time to do it all, even if I wanted to. So I set up a Discord server with guides, tutorials, and other important elements to simply make them be able to learn themselves. In my presentation, I will mainly cover 4 important areas. First of all, personalization. Now, this is very important because for a lot of people, your server should be very visual. And making sure that it's decorated correctly will ensure that people immediately know why they are there. Now, apart from making sure that the server is good and personalized, it's also important to make sure that there are non-toxic environment is your foundation. Make sure that people feel safe and people feel welcome in your community. Now, lastly, when you get that going, then of course you want to know how to and where to promote your server to everything outside Discord. And lastly, how do you improve your existing community and make sure that more people get drawn to your server. So, personalization. It's really key because people want to get to know you and want to get to know your server. In the end, when they join your server, the first thing they'll see is like a welcome screen or a welcome channel, and it's very important to like decorate that and dress that up in a way that is attractive and reflects like what your current game is like. So you can use artwork and banners, custom emoji to kind of like give the server your own personal virtual clubhouse idea, and make sure that everything is nice and readable and people can find like where to go easy. In that way, people will stay, and at least people will be more tempted to stay because they know why they're here and they know what they're getting. Now, in my example here, I have a basic overview, kind of like what you would typically find in a server for an indie game. At the top, we got some hidden channels, and these are basically channels that have to do with what happens behind the scenes. So we got the moderation channel, basically mod chat, and that is for moderators and official staff to discuss about anything they like, stuff to do with the community or with the server, maybe discussing about the behavior of a user. And secondly, the logs channel is for making sure that bots can log all their actions and you can keep track of it. Then we got some read-only channels, as I call them, in basically at the top. It's easy because as soon as a user sees that something at the top has a notification, they know it's important. So in welcome and about, the first channel there is basically the landing zone. So that channel will be filled with certain visual elements to make it easy to read and understand what the server is about. And I'll show that later. Other than that, the announcement channel is basically a helpful news feature. And this is just where the important news goes. You can expand it with custom feeds of other social media or patch notes or change logs or otherwise. As long as you put them at the top, it's just helpful for people to find it easily. Then we have a piece about the game itself, and this piece is important in the way that you have a distinction where people can talk about the game and people can talk about anything else, basically. We have a general channel, we have a channel for bug reports, a channel for feedback and suggestions, a channel for users to show off anything in the game, like artwork or drawings, videos, live streams, basically anything. And after that, we have a bit about the community, where they can basically share what they like to talk about, whether it's how their day was, or their favorite pets, or what other hobbies they have, or what games they're playing. And I think giving them a space to talk about these things that doesn't necessarily have to do with the game, or anything in the server in particular, kind of allows like a friendly neighborhood area or a virtual clubhouse area, as I said before, that people can feel welcome in and make new friends in. Lastly, the section in the bottom is if you have like a playable build, so you could separate it from the rest of the channels just for playtesting purposes and keeping it nice and organized. You can tie it to a role so people can opt in to play an alpha build or a closed beta or open beta or whichever. To set up the welcome channel itself, which is the landing zone as I explained earlier, you basically want to have some mix of visuals and descriptions that immediately tell people why they're there and what it's for. Generally, as you can see, I start out with like a simple greeting and artwork of the game. This can be some kind of splash art or anything that just resembles, in one glance, this is what the server is about. A little welcome word about the game itself, just to let them know that it's in development, for example. In this case, there is a custom banner made for these areas, tailored to the game itself as well. And the features are basically copied from the Steam page, but they show people that are coming to the server without having to click to the Steam page what the game is about. And of course, eventually, you'll link the Steam page to have them see for themselves. Secondly, the rules are also important in the way that you need to have something that allows people to fall back on, whether it's making sure that they don't advertise or making sure that they don't post malicious content. Your rules are pretty much basically in place so your moderators can enforce them, or yourself if you're just starting out. Then the official links are basically links to any other platform that you have a presence on, whether it's a marketplace or the website or social media. You can stick all the links there, and if people want to find out because they got to your Discord server because the game looked nice, they can always go on to another platform and see what there is for themselves. Absorb more information about the game through the website, or find funny tweets and subscribe there. It's just a helpful guide for people to fall back on. And lastly, this is something that I like to do personally, and I wouldn't say it's mandatory, not that anything is mandatory, but it's very helpful to have a channel guide just for people so they know what channel there is and to talk about what. Like, what is the channel topic for maybe a channel name that doesn't make sense at first glance, so they can just look it up. Obviously, not everyone will do that, and they might still ask, but at least you're providing the infrastructure to have them find out for themselves if they want to. Now, as I said, with roles, you can basically link them to channels so people can view or hide channels by themselves. But it's important for roles to also have a sort of a technical purpose. In this case, you can see the role called admin and moderator. This basically tells anyone, okay, if I have a question or if I need support or if I need help, these are the people that I can talk to. Making these role names a bit vague or hard to understand might not be the best choice. Of course, it would be nice if it was tailored to the game's universe or the theme of your company or the theme of your studio. But it shouldn't be too confusing that people don't know, is this a person of authority or is this just a joke thing, or like what am I getting at? Like, that's just very helpful to have them easily identifiable. And then, of course, there are also the option to give rewards to people with a role. It's like a badge they can show off. So, for example, you can get a Kickstarter integration, so Kickstarters will be able to show off that they're a Kickstarter backer. There are anything with Twitch integration is also possible. They can even get like a special room assigned them for the subscribers. And these can be very customizable and very tailored to the game itself or to the universe itself. And it would make a lot of sense to do that because it's just fun. For example, there is on the bottom right, the smaller image explains the hierarchy of the Tiny Tanks community. And the more you would speak, the more points you get. So the tank leader has the most points. But of course, there are other ranks as well. And it's just turned into like a fun minigame. Now, next to text chat and voice chat, obviously there are a lot of emoji being used on Discord and Animoji for Nitro users. And it can really help spruce up the conversation and just add a bit more emotion to your chat. I have created a small starter pack to help list official platforms, basically some fun formative emoji. And it's just something that I created to help out if you want to link them or list the emoji next to the official links. The Animoji itself are for Discord Nitro users. Even if you create one yourself for your own server, you'd have to be a Nitro user to be able to use them. But as you can see, they can add a lot of fun to the conversation, or even they can be animated sprites of your game. In the end, it is important though to make sure that the emoji don't simply become logos or I guess like screenshots or turn into an emoji. In the end, you want them to replace emoji or make them act as jokes, so they should have a bit of a logic sense to them that you tie them into the universe. On the bottom left, for example, the Nintendo server has a lot of Nintendo characters, and all the characters' heads kind of like show at least some kind of emotion or an actual action. And that would be helpful to integrate that so people actually use them in normal conversation. This is relatively new, and it's a change where every server owner can enable the community settings. The community feature itself is basically possible for anyone who wants to start building a community. It used to be something that was locked behind verification, or at least some features of this program. And it allows you to give you some stats about how your server works. This is just a test image pulled from the Discord testers a Discord server, and it basically allows you to view all the data and metrics of your server that is currently being tracked. Now, before you hit 500 users, you only have access to announcement channels and the welcome screen, so you'll only be able to see statistics for that. But as you grow, you will get to see growth and activation numbers and engagement rates and where your audience is coming from, and it can be really helpful to frequently take a look and see, okay, where can I improve these numbers and how can I improve them? Because they provide you with tips and tricks on how to get those numbers up compared to what they're doing. The welcome screen is a simple splash screen. When somebody joins your server, they basically see that first before they can chat. Obviously, they get to click on I'll just look around for now at the bottom if they really wanted to, but it gives them an alternative to basically get straight into the action. For me, for my own server, I listed a few guides and of course the welcome channel to have people get familiar with what I do. But in the end, you can highlight a lot of channels, and this will allow you to at least tell people, hey, this is where you can go already if you are interested or if you're coming here for that purpose. And the announcements window is basically transforming a regular channel into an announcement channel officially. So people don't even get the option to chat, even though chat permissions might be disabled. It would tell them that you wouldn't be able to type in that specific channel. But this simply transforms it into a channel looking like this, where at the bottom you can follow a channel. And that means you push the updates in your own server, which is something that will be helpful, for example, big MMO games or esports games where important announcements are pushed to Discord servers where the teams are, or where guilds are or clans, and they want to stay updated with the news from within their own community. The part about moderation is a bit of a different one. It's a bit more technical, and most importantly, it's something you can configure, highly configurable, because bots are just something you'd have to play around with. But the most important takeaway is that any toxicity or people that break the rules or trolls should be dealt with swiftly, or at least preemptively, making sure that it doesn't escalate too much, because it could turn like a Discord server really sour or grim for other people. As they see what's going on and they might see that there's no action being taken, they might feel like they're not welcome in that chat if they feel attacked or anything like that. Now, for enforcing these rules that are listed in your server, usually you're going to need some moderators, and mostly you can do it yourself in the beginning. As you start growing and you need to check on your server 24/7, it might be worthwhile to get some more moderators. And what's important is often there are people in your community that are well-established members that might be interested in becoming a moderator. So basically making sure that the people in your community get recognized for what they do, and if they're willing, of course, to help, there could be a sort of partnership where they assist you in keeping your server and community safe. I listed some good traits here, and this is basically just something to look out for. Some people might have more problems with identifying some good behavior, but in the end, it's very easy to spot, or at least easy to figure out once you start keeping track of somebody. Now, a moderator should be active, of course. They can't be always active, so it's kind of not an absolute that you'd have to take into account, but generally is an active user, and most importantly, just respectful. Staying respectful can sometimes be hard, of course, if there's a bit of pressure or struggle, or maybe a debate, but that is a very important trait to keep in mind. And that spelling is obviously important as well. Now, you might see often that people tag moderators when rules are broken, because they want to make sure that the rest of the community stays safe as well, and the moderators are alerted. People that do that generally can be trusted that they know when people have broken the rules and when they have not. Now, here are some more characteristics. Being welcoming, friendly, empathetic, and humble is, there's a lot of words in there, and that's not something that is simply like it covers a lot, but somebody that will answer a lot of questions and make sure that people follow the rules and know where to go and know where to find things, and if a debate occurs, that starts de-escalating instead of agitating. Like, those are the people that you generally want around in your conversations. Next to having human moderators, there's also a powerful tool with auto moderation. And this is simply bots that have keywords, a register of keywords that are used to filter chat. So if anyone types in a slur or anything that will be deemed offensive, then of course that will be removed. Other than that, it's also good for spam. Simply advertising or invite links to other Discord servers, like it happens a lot. Sometimes it's by a bot, other times it's by users, and this simply prevents that. Now, this might be something not a lot of people know about, but Discord has a developer mode, which unlocks a few more features that are useful when you're moderating or owning a server. It's basically to make sure that you get the ability to copy IDs of users, channels, and messages. So if a user, for example, posts a malicious link but leaves your Discord server, you can still copy their ID and then ban or warn them retroactively after they've gone. And in that way, it's just really helpful also to verify users if you really want to make sure, because the ID obviously is unique. Now, aside from having these settings enabled where bots take actions, there should be a place where those actions are being logged. The reason for this is because sometimes false positives happen, or you want to know what happened, and checking what the output of the bot is in a separate channel that's closed off for any other viewer is just really helpful to keep track of the situation. Aside from bots that are logging, also will be important to communicate to each other and make sure that you keep each other posted and discuss escalations as they go, just to make sure everyone is on the same page. Now, as you have a team of moderators, perhaps, or maybe just one moderator, what's important is to keep them engaged as well. It's kind of like an extension of community management in the way that Discord moderators handle a part of that. They answer questions, they help people with problems, try to troubleshoot sometimes, or simply enforce the server rules. Like, it really depends on what kind of role you establish in together. It's a two-way street, obviously. But it's nice to warn them if something goes down in your server. For example, if you have a game launch or a video or a dev blog coming up, and you know that a lot of people would be coming to the Discord server, or there's a lot of activity, then it would be nice for them to know, like, okay, something's going to happen in the next 5 days. Like, you don't have to be super specific if there were no NDAs signed or whatsoever. But it's just nice, and they would feel appreciated as well that you inform them. Aside from that, just ask them how they are doing would be very important. Obviously, they're humans as well, so talk to them, try to understand their motivations and available time. Yes, they should be active, but they have their own lives to live, and if it's a voluntary position, it's more of a thing that where you work together. So make sure that your expectations are matching to what they offer and what they want to do. I mean, 99% of the times it works out, but if there's any confusion, I would recommend just to talk about it and iron things out. Because in the end, if you need to stop working together for any reason, then obviously you want to make sure that you don't leave them with a sour feeling, and ensure that what they've done, of course, you will have appreciated. Now, these users are usually people that are active when you're not active yourself as a server owner. So they might pick up on things that happen in the server, or they have ideas or suggestions on how to run certain things, or how to enable certain situations, like having a bot do support tickets, or maybe even a bot that helps with the multiplayer of the game, for matchmaking, for example. And basically ask them for any feedback on a regular basis and make sure that they are integrated in the experience. And lastly, listening to their concerns would also be obviously important, because if your moderators are happy, it reflects well on you. If you have moderators that are unhappy, sometimes they might lash out or leave in, I guess, in gaming terms, it will be a rage quit. I've seen that happen as well. But most importantly, just communicate with each other and make sure that everyone's on the same page. It's so important. Now here's a list that I'm not happy that I have to share it. It's just something that is, to a lot of people, might be very obvious, to others maybe not. But I'm going to list it here just because I've seen this happen in a lot of servers, and it kind of always is very disappointing, or it kind of bothers me, because a lot of drama could have been prevented. This is a popular one, where somebody will join a server and basically immediately ask, hey, can I be a moderator? Obviously, these people probably don't have a good idea of who you are and what you do, so they might want to become a moderator for themselves instead of for you. Not always the case, but it would lean towards that. Now, a moderator that basically argues a lot with other users or tries to agitate them wouldn't be the best option, obviously. As well as lacking the empathy and jumping to conclusions, or being very dismissive of ideas. It's very troublesome to a user when they come into your server and, for example, they have a game suggestion. And somebody's like, oh yeah, I have this and this problem when I'm gaming, so could we get a keybind for this? And if a moderator would respond and say, oh yeah, devs are busy, they don't have time for that, or it's already planned, or it's not going to be planned, devs have already announced this, like they're kind of speaking for the dev team. So in that way, if they get shut down by a moderator who is sometimes considered as staff, sometimes considered as a friend, but always considered a person of authority, you don't want those people shooting down ideas or suggestions. Like, of course, you want to keep the conversation going, but make sure that they have like an open mind. And as for promotion of your Discord server, this can get really hard. It really depends on how much of your project or game basically is finished, how much you have to show for, and what you can offer people to interact with. But for promotion of your Discord server, you should want to list things that are like unique selling points of your server. And I will say this becomes easier over time as your community grows, because as your community grows, stuff will happen in your own community that will be able to, is shareable to others. If a fun thing happens in your server, you might want to highlight it on other social media like Twitter, and basically make sure that more people come to the server because it looks like a nice and fun place. On the server itself, having access to certain information is like giving back to your closest fans. People on Discord would like to interact with you. It's an instant chat platform, so people usually join a Discord server because they want something out of it. Giving exclusive access to this information, even if it's just timed, like a day heads up, like, hey, tomorrow we'll upload a video, is very appreciated because people are like kept in the loop, and it feels like it's a secret fan area where you get a bit of behind the scenes. Other than that, people like fancy visual things, so like roles can be worn as a badge or as a title, and people can either brag about them or pledge themselves to a certain team in like a meta game that they're playing on the server, just to identify themselves with, and make it exclusive. So it's something that can only happen on Discord, for that matter. And aside from the roles and the information, a lot of people want to join your server because they want to talk to you, or they want to voice their own thoughts and suggestions to the game and see what how a dev would react to it, or how a programmer would react to it. So highlighting that and promoting that, that you're open to chat or open to take feedback and suggestions. For the people that are already on Discord, really lowers the barrier to come and have a look. And if you have a demo out or a playable build, then it allows people to try out your game and give their thoughts before it's released. A popular thing to do is to have an in-server metagame. Generally speaking, this is like a bot that offers some functionality that really doesn't have to do anything with the game or the Discord server, but it's mostly just to play a game. This can be really helpful in an early development cycle of a game where there's not much footage to share or GIFs to create to share with the community. And there can be like a bot that has a economy system, or there can be a text-based adventure or something that people have to do together, just to keep chat rolling. And as I mentioned with the channel overview, having a open or closed beta testing infrastructure can also be very helpful. And it generally draws a lot of people in. If you make a nice post on social media asking people to come test your game and that they need to come to your Discord server, like generally speaking, you get a lot of people that are interested to give it a go. Now, to promote your Clubhouse, there are multiple ways to do so. Obviously, linking it to any other website or social media that you have is very helpful, because it kind of promotes the cross-pollination of users that visit your Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch and just want to find out more about your presence online and maybe find a platform that they're most familiar with. Another popular way is to put it as a part of a competition or a giveaway. A lot of people or companies use Gleam, for example, Gleam.io, for hosting giveaways, and they have to perform actions. And of course, joining a Discord server can be one of those actions. Aside from that, celebrating milestones from within your community or for your game itself is also possible. For example, hey, we finished this and this part of our game, it's almost done. Come say hello to Discord servers and let us know what you think. Like, these milestones are something that you want to share on social media, and basically use Discord to invite them for a discussion. Another way is to use public server listings. There's the discovery listing, but nowadays you need 10,000 users in your Discord server to unlock that. So there are other unofficial public server listings, but obviously putting your server out there publicly on a domain you don't own yourself could have some risk involved that anyone could find you. So sometimes this attracts a bit of spam or people that come to troll, for example, but you'll find that basically anywhere on the internet. So there is some risk, but usually it's harmless. As I mentioned, the closed beta testing can be done with roles to give them a beta role and give them access to feedback and bug report areas. This can also be promoted. And link it in trailers. Like if you have a gameplay trailer out there or an announcement trailer or anything like that, link it in the trailer itself, like at the end of the video, to invite them to discuss and leave feedback and start growing the community around you and your game. And these are the big don'ts on Discord, which is to send it to random people without context or relevance. So you get like a random private message from somebody with just a link to a Discord server. Yeah, it feels like spam. Nobody kind of wants to invite links like that because you don't know what you're getting into, where you're going to, where you're clicking to. So at least give people some context, but usually sharing them unsolicited in DMs is very much frowned upon, and in a lot of servers it's against the rules. And that's another part. In the servers where it's not allowed to share them in random private messages like DMs, you also don't share the Discord server in the actual server itself. I see quite often that people share a link and then leave the server thinking they'll get people that will join their server, but it's just very abusive in that sense, because you're interrupting a conversation with like advertising, and obviously that's not so, doesn't leave a good impression. So basically, if you've set up your server and you decorated it, and you got some moderation going, whether you're doing it yourself or with community members, and you promoted your server everywhere you can, how do you engage with your audience? Now, this is very limited because there are a lot of ways to interact with your community, but these are just some basics, so you can keep it going on the platform that Discord is. Because it's so, the instant chat makes it very intimate, like you can talk to a developer maybe. Some servers are more loose than others in the way of how the staff or developers interact with the community. But in most servers, people that work on the game or on the team can freely interact with the people that are a fan and want to learn more about the game. So while they wait for it to be developed, there are a few strategies you can basically use to get the engagement going. So, very simple, talk with them. Ask them how their day is. Find shared passions. Usually people that are there for your video game also like other video games, so ask them what they're playing. For your Discord audience and also for the rest of your audience on Twitch and on YouTube and on Twitter and on Facebook, host some live streams and maybe some giveaways or simple Q&A sessions so people can give questions in Discord or even join you in Discord voice chat for asking questions. As with any social media, it's very important to be consistent with your content. So making sure that you push content to your Discord members exclusively, or maybe not even exclusively all the time, is very important to just keep it going. And this is something that I find important because a lot of people just want to talk about how their day is and make new friends. And in that way, have a place for them so they can discuss that, like what are you working on, or can you share pictures of your pets or your day-to-day life, or do you have cool short stories to share, or anything. It kind of ties into the first point of this sheet, where if you have something that you love, create an area for it so other people can contribute to that. And this is for the purpose of getting to know your fans and to build trust and be engaging with them and interacting with them and reward them for that. In a way, they will probably feel at home. So, to summarize, by decorating and personalizing your server with nice images and clear instructions, having auto moderation and people, of course, as moderators to keep your audience engaged and safe from any toxicity or malicious links or spam, it covers the basics of having a self-sustaining community. In the end, some areas might need a bigger push than others because it's a very dynamic thing. Your community might have certain needs. It will grow and shrink depending on the state of development, and it will need to be monitored and managed to make sure that you're still in touch with your community and give them a place that they feel welcome and at home. And basically that would cover the end of the presentation. Obviously you can ask some questions to me later and we'll answer some questions on the show. But you can find me on @indieservertips on Twitter. It's a Twitter account I put up to start pushing content out with, basically bite-sized tips to give away. And on my Discord server, discord.io/indieservertips is where you will find this presentation basically in the form of a guide or tutorial. So you can just follow along while you build your server and ask questions if you have any, aside from many other guides covering the verification process, partnership progress, and just formatting tips for chat and all that stuff. So that would be all.
Thank you very much. Great stuff, Paul. Really appreciate it. Write these down. Paul, would you mind sharing whichever of these you're willing to share on our YouTube or Twitch right now? If you don't mind, I did not want to share your Discord invitation while you were live, but if you want to do it, that'd be great, or I can do it before we jump off. Got a number.
That's fine.
a lot of comments and questions in the chat. A lot of praise for the presentation. A lot of folks asking about, or a lot of folks talking about how specific areas that they were enjoying and appreciating. We also had a number of questions. If you do have questions, you can still type them in the chat, or you can join us in the GGDA Discord in the voice channel, because when we're done with this presentation, we're going to go back to the general voice channel, and we'll stay in there for a bit answering questions. Again, it's 1 a.m. in the Netherlands, or going on 2 a.m. now, so don't expect to have too long, but if you have questions for Paul, he'll answer them for a bit, and you can also talk to him about the other services that IndieServer provides. From Simon, Paul, have you ever seen a Discord so broken down or so granular where it was detrimental rather than helping the members?
Oh, that's a tough one. Yeah, I mean, part of that has inspired me to start doing this for people, because I've seen a lot of servers where it's just confusing where to go, or the channels are not like descriptive enough, or there's no good like onboarding process for people to understand what they can get out of the server and how they can use it to their advantage. Some, for example, have a gatekeeper bot that you have to write like I agree to the rules before you get access to the full server. And while this is good in theory, there are a lot of people that either don't read or forget about it and basically get stuck into limbo for a long while, kind of segmenting your community. So yeah, I've definitely seen some stuff over the years. Mostly it has to do with navigational ease and making sure that everything is easy to understand and descriptive.
Do you want to give any worst case examples?
Have to think about a server that is basically not so like it works in a way, but it can be very hard. In that sense, there is, like, I'm not saying that they're doing a bad job, but there is the official Gamescom server, and they also have a German side to the server in the same server. And it gets very confusing when there's live streams, because there's a lot of languages going through in the same chat. So for non-native speakers, even for people that are not natively English speaking, that already have issues with English, for example, it's just very confusing and very overbearing to see all that kind of activity in a language you don't understand.
Great input. We had a couple of people ask about bots. If you were to prioritize bots, what would you say a game studio should focus on first?
I mean, if you have the resources and time to program your own bot and host it, obviously that's the best choice. There are a lot of public bots, though, that also offer features that are interesting. Even for like when you're starting out, you can rely on public bots for auto moderation, for technical stuff. Like you can simply browse websites and find all the bots that you could ever think of, because people put them on the internet, sometimes open source, even on GitHub, where you can just get a copy and host your own bot. But yeah, if you're programming your own, I think it's important that you cover basic areas where what each server should have. So at least a bit of auto moderation, or linking social channels to your Discord feed, or even providing like a little game. It should enrich the user experience, and whether that is through making sure that they feel safe or making sure that they can play something whenever they're bored, it should be with the user experience in mind.
Excellent. We had a question also about paid versus free versus higher levels of paid Discord. Certainly for a lot of studios, it's just, do they have the budget? But what do you recommend? What are the various advantages of going paid, and does it really make a huge difference?
Are we talking about like the Nitro subscriptions, or?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, there are two different versions. I'd say for Sole Community Manager, having a Discord Nitro subscription, which is like $9.99 per month, can be very helpful, because it gives you an upload limit of like 50 megabytes instead of 8 megabytes. So you just get a lot more space all of a sudden. And you get 2 server boosts, which you could invest in your own server. In short, server boosts unlock more decorative features of your server, and having to by yourself is enough to reach the first level and get like an animated server icon if you want to. So there are certainly some perks to having it done. Obviously, it's like $9.99 a month or $100 a year. So that could be steep to some, but in the end, it might be worth it if you are able to use every perk that you get to its full advantage.
So I'm going to use my priority here and ask a very specific question. You mentioned the Gamescom server. I take it for granted you've been on a few conference servers. We're about to run the Siege conference November 13th to 15th. What have you seen conferences do really well in their Discords? And I'm also thinking about the networking. It's one of the hardest things for online conferences to do now is replicate the networking that happens in a on ground and in-person conference. So what have you seen conferences do well with their Discords?
Yeah, it certainly is a challenge because Discord works a bit differently in that sense, and of course, compared to real life, it's always a bit different. What I've seen work well is having separate like tables in a Discord server where people could just hop in and talk to anyone. It gets a bit hard to keep track of because a lot of tables means a lot of scrolling to find the table that you want. So other than that, I think it's very important to keep people informed of what's happening during a conference, like having a schedule up and making sure that people get the appropriate pings or mentions when new videos go live or when there's a break, just to know that they can step away. And of course, give them a space to talk about the conference itself, whether that's per subject or per talk that's being given, or in big platform distinctions like tabletop and VR and all the other PC and console platforms. It's just very helpful to have separate areas where people can talk specialized or dedicated to that subject.
All right. Lots of great feedback. Thank you very much, Paul. Sorry I can't offer you any of our GGDA pizza tonight, but
That's all right.
We will bring you on back into the chat. If you can if you are listening to this, go ahead and jump into the GGDA Discord. Join us in the General Voice channel, and we will be there in a couple of minutes. So thank you again for having watched you. Thank you very much, Paul, especially considering the time difference. And we will see you all shortly. Remember to ask him about the services he offers for your indie game servers. We will see everybody. Our next meeting, we'll have a meeting before Siege to go through all of the events involved with Siege. So be waiting for that announcement. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.